Hello and welcome to another supercharged gaming news podcast where we give you the news every week and we break it all down for you. I'm here with my co-host Lane Hubenak
Nice to meet you again.
and myself, Noah Anzaldua. So, without further ado, let's get into it, Lane.
So we got an icebreaker for you today, guys, and it's the holiday season, right? So what's your favorite piece of Christmas themed media out there?
I really like, and this is a new one. Uh, well, kind of new, but Klaus on Netflix is really good. It came out like 2 or 3 years ago, I think, and it's like, well, it's Klaus. It's Klaus's Santa Claus, but he's like this little toy maker in like this weird kind of Scandinavian setting, and it's an animated movie and it looks really beautiful. And J.K. Simmons plays Santa Claus, like you know him from J. Jonah Jameson, the Spider-Man movies, and Omni-Man and Invincible
Yeah.
more recently. And it's just such a good movie. It's so heartwarming and heartfelt, and it also kind of tells like a darker story without it like feeling like overly dark, but it feels like it's perfect for a family to watch together. Um, yeah. Also, Elf and the Destiny 2 Dawning event, their Christmas event in Destiny 2, always leaves me feeling cozy and pretty good while you're baking cookies for your enemies and for your friends.
Okay, that's valid for both of those. Can't go wrong with J.K. Simmons. Mine's mine's a little more, upbeat. I don't really like the darker stories for Christmas. Mine's definitely just all about goofiness, and that's because my two favorite art movies, and it's National Lampoon's Family Vacation, which if you've seen it, you know. Griswolds are amazing, and Elf because Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to go wrong with those two. National Lampoon's is probably my favorite. I always laugh about this one scene, where his aunt or mother-in-law, one or the other, is sitting at the table, and they ask her to do something. She goes, "What?" And she goes, "Oh, he can't hear." She goes, "I can hear just fine." And her husband turns and looks at her, and he goes, "You couldn't hear a dump truck driving through a nitroglycerin plant." Dude, I laugh at that line so hard every time I hear it. It's amazing. The delivery, the build up to it, it's just perfect. And then Elf, of course, is just uh, you know, Will Ferrell.
Yeah,
Will
I
Ferrell
love
makes
Elf.
Will Ferrell makes everything great, man, honestly. Uh he's I don't know, he's just so goofy in that movie, and I kinda see myself in him.
Oh yeah.
The Christmas spirit, the shenanigans, the just general lack of understanding.
What's a Christmas gram? I want one.
Yeah. Ooh, you must be from the South Pole.
uh,
And Peter Dinklage was great in that too.
he is really good now. Yeah. You feeling
I
lucky, my
think,
friend?
yeah. Call me Elf one more time. Must be a South Pole elf. Uh, all right. I think that's a good warm up. Got our jitters out.
It's got
Not
us.
nervous
Yeah,
anymore.
we talked about some happy things so that we can really kill the mood.
Yeah. Viewers, make sure you comment below, or if you're listening, tweet at us. Let us know what your favorite Christmas themed media out there is. We'd really appreciate the interactions. Let's take it down a notch, yeah?
Yeah, so Lane, you got to tell us about what's going on at Raven Software, and sort of what who got laid off, what's going on, and catch us up on that.
Yeah, so Activision is in the news for all the wrong reasons this year, and biggest reason lately that I've noticed is because of the Raisin employees, the Raven software employees that were laid off. And from what I've read and from what I've seen, um, the workers were upset, and they're upset for a good reason, and that's because basically Raven Software, if you don't know, they work on Call of Duty Warzone, and they fired at least a dozen of their quality assurance contractors last Friday, I believe. And this was after they had made them move, I think, as well. They told like they were, I think they're, was there actually
Um,
protesting or was it just,
they're converting like 500 temporary workers to like full-time positions, and when they made that change, they also laid off like 12 quality assurance workers.
gotcha. So they laid off a good amount of people pretty much. And they had a good amount of them move too. I remember reading
Yeah, yeah.
that. And a lot of this information is coming straight from Oscar Gonzalez from CNET Tech. He said 60 Raven software employees walked out uh, to show solidarity with the ones that were let go, and 200 more quality assurance workers walked out as well. And I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome that the creators are sticking together and showing that, hey, like we're here with you, you know, like even though we're still here in the company, like we're showing our support for these people who were let go unjustly, it seems, um, especially after, you know, promising them better pay and, you know, better work environment in general and making them move to a different location just to have them come in and let go. That's messed up. You don't do that, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely think it's awesome they're standing together for their fellow craftsmen, craftswomen. It's great.
Yeah, there was like no advance notice at all, and it's just out of nowhere. And King from like the creators of Candy Crush, they also have stepped in to join the protest and the walkout, and that's great. And really, King it probably is like a huge money earner for Activision Blizzard, or for Activision, and that's probably a huge step in like gaining the push they need to really oust some of the higher ups at Activision and start cleaning things up, because we really need to see the CEO Bobby Kotick and some of the board members even all get ousted from there before any actual change can really happen there.
Well, yeah, it starts at the top for sure. And this isn't even their first, you know, their first go at being in the news for something shitty that they've done. And I'm just honestly surprised that it hasn't happened sooner. That they're, you know, the employees are calling for his head pretty much. And this is not even the first time they've done that. They've held walkouts before, but I don't think they've ever done anything on this scale.
Yep. And then moving on from that, over the weekend, Bungie's own sort of scandal broke, and that's from Rebecca Valentine at IGN. She uh, talked to a bunch of different Bungie employees over the years. I mean, most of whom no longer work there, and they've been let go for one reason or the other, or they left for their own health. But essentially, her story, well, her article paints the story of a bunch of employees that show Bungie as being a toxic workplace, where the ideas of the women and people of color, mostly, have been sort of trampled on and taken and twisted and morphed, and crunch has been a problem there, and basically shows that a lot of the forward facing information from Bungie is true, but also doesn't show the whole picture. Bungie is trying to get to a better spot as a company, um, but for a lot of their problems, they've not been as forthcoming with how they've fixed those problems or what the problems were to begin with. So this article really shows that Bungie has a lot of the same problems as an Activision Blizzard and a lot of other companies, pretty much in America, um, and that they're on the way to fixing those problems. But it is important to recognize that these women and these people of color that have come forward are, their time at Bungie's over, and they don't get a second chance, and they don't get to see the fixes that Bungie's implementing now at their company, in the workforce, in the workplace, and that really sucks. And that's really an important takeaway from the story, is that Bungie has used these people's work and gave them a bad work environment to work in, just to rip away a place where they could feel comfortable being employed at.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible, man. I hope hopefully those people can come back. Um, I know you said that their time is done, and for the general part, I'm pretty sure that's true. But hopefully, after these changes have been implemented, that they'll come back, they'll feel comfortable again, and we'll see the creative process flourish, and we'll see the destiny that was supposed to be. Um, because I remember you saying that uh, a lot of the narrative was taken away, right? And they were let known about it like a day before the
Yeah,
cinematic
there
did.
there's like reports about the cinematic team would be like comprised of who Bungie thought was the top dogs there, and they would usually be white older men who'd worked at Bungie for longer, and they would send memos out to the narrative team literally days in advance of the trailers coming out and say, okay, you need to change all this because we want this for the cinematic, and it won't make sense with the world if your writing is still this. And they wouldn't be notified of that until literally the last second that their work was just being sent on the chopping floor. And then another problem was just the way that these when they had ideas or wanted promotions, uh, higher ups would say, "Well, you're not good enough at the game to get promoted, so sorry." Which doesn't make any sense because these were people on the narrative team and their game skill or whether they can complete a solo flawless dungeon or whatever, any of that, it doesn't matter. Um, in terms of how good they can write. And then there were things like Devrim K was more explicitly like a gay character to begin with, and after the higher ups got their hands on it, basically he was made to just mention a mark, like a guy named Mark, sort of ambiguously, and that Bungie still got positive news coverage after the fact for including like its first gay character, even though they diluted his story like a ton. Um, but I think that we are seeing change even like on the front facing aspect of it. Like more recently, like we have Osiris and Satan 14,
I
who
was
are
just about to say they're kind of open about that, aren't they?
yeah, now they are because I think they've realized, oh, we can actually use the stories that our women and people of color and LGBTQ people are like putting forward, and those stories will probably be liked by a lot of our community. And it sucks that it really required that first bit of media coverage to be like, oh, we need to move forward with this because it seems all business like and very like, okay, that worked. Let's keep going, but not because of like we need to be better human beings because it actually gave us good media coverage, which sucks. Um,
Yeah. I
but
feel
still,
like
yeah,
when you make any business decision, like obviously it's for the betterment of the business, but you also can't bring your personal beliefs into anything like that. You can't let it be emotional.
yeah, yeah, and it's just I think they are on their way to being a better company and giving a better work environment to a lot of people. And I think the writing really has been better since they've started this initiative to become a better company. Like I think Season of the Splicer does not happen if you have this old boys club mentality. Like this story about um one person really being against all these outsiders coming into the place and then um her really being shown to be in the wrong there, and like I think that whole story is very symbolic of what our political like culture is right now in this country, and I think that that only comes from when you have a diverse like writing staff.
Yeah.
um yeah, so I think Bungie is moving forward in the right direction, but they need to move a little bit faster, and they need to make sure that their employees are not being burnt out by toxic workplace and the same problems that plague a lot of other game studios, a lot of
Well,
other.
you've seen them start to do that already as well as I know when I've logged in, I've seen the community support messages. Like they, during Pride Month, they had a message that popped up. It was like an emblem or something, right?
Yeah,
The pride flag, the rainbow colors. They did that, and then didn't they also they did something for um Black Lives Matter, didn't they?
yeah, so they have like a lot of new inclusivity clubs at Bungie, like Black at Bungie, Trans at Bungie, Women at Bungie, and now accessibility at Bungie. And those clubs, I think, are a big part of like accountability for the higher ups because they have like a direct pathway now to talk to people as a group instead of being alone. And I think that's great. And I just think they need to push a little bit harder. And that's pretty much all I've got to say about that at this point. We'll see what they actually do. Pete Parsons, really, the CEO of Bungie, released a statement, and he recognizes the fact that all of these stories are true, and Bungie has a long way to go, but it's just unclear what those steps, what those action points are when they actually do those things. So we'll see. We'll talk about that when they start implementing some changes.
Yeah, man. It's kind of messed up, but they really told the narrative team get good.
Yeah, it sucks. So let's
I want a promotion. Well, get good.
yeah.
What were you gonna say? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh no, I was just gonna say let's move on to the Game Awards. They were last Thursday, and
Yes.
there were a lot of
But
announcements, a lot of winners and a lot of losers. What
if
were
you're not
you?
first, if you're not first, you're last, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. So what were you most excited about?
Well, I don't know. Do you want to talk about some of as far as the Game Awards go, do you want to talk about the actual winners of the categories first, or do you want to talk about a lot of the trailers? Because I'm down for either. I'm excited. The whole event was amazing.
I think we can talk about some of the winners first.
All right. Sorry, I was drinking my coffee. Um, so if I remember correctly, last week we talked about 6 categories, right? You just
Yeah.
want to kind of run down the list of what we got here.
Yeah, let's go.
We talked about best indie debut. Do you remember what we said would be the winner for that? I'm bringing up the what's it called?
I think
I am bringing up the website right now so I can look at the nominees.
I was pulling for Sable, pretty sure.
I think I was too.
But
No, maybe I said Valheim.
oh
I think
yeah,
I said
yeah,
Valheim.
that's true. You probably were.
Yeah. So you said Sable, I said Valheim. We were both wrong. Kena Bridge of Spirits won. And if I remember correctly, you said that you actually played that a little bit and you actually really enjoyed it, right?
I played a little bit, like a very small amount. But really the thing about Kana is that it's like one of the most beautiful indie games I've ever seen. It looks like it has the same level of polish as like a Pixar movie in its cutscenes, and its animations, like while you're playing the game, are really great. Um, and I think that with their second game, with their sophomore effort, they're gonna really pop off on the gameplay aspect of it because it's got some really like basic platforming stuff and some sort of like light Dark Souls combat and boss fights. And I think that with the sequel, they can really turn that up a notch. And I cannot wait to see what they do.
Yeah. I again I think Valheim should have won it, but then again I didn't play, so I honestly don't know. Maybe Kena did deserve it, you know?
Yeah.
It's just a lack of information on my part. And then next we talked about the most anticipated game, and we pretty much were spot on with that, Elden Ring. I think everyone's looking forward to that.
Yeah. It's a From Software game, and I don't know. It's like an event anytime a From Software game comes out.
Yeah.
Even against a God of War or a Horizon, you know.
And even some of the other bigger contenders like Nintendo and Bethesda with Starfield and Breath of the Wild too. Like they just From Software and Bandai together, they do it right, man.
Yeah,
Dark Souls is replayable for a reason.
that's true. Yeah.
So yeah, we pretty much were spot on with that one. Best community support. I'm not surprised. Final Fantasy 14 got that one. And if you don't remember, viewers, the nominees for best community support were Destiny 2, Apex Legends, Final Fantasy, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky. I said No Man's Sky should have won. I do still think that they should have won. They've brought their community back together pretty much. They brought in a lot, a lot more of the new player to the community. Fortnite, I think, should have been a close contender, especially with the launch of Chapter 3 during the Game Awards. I haven't played it for a couple years, since the beginning of Chapter 2, but when I saw that trailer for Chapter 3, I was pretty blown away, I'm not going to lie. They're adding a lot of new movement to it, to the community. So, looking forward to what that'll bring. Were you surprised at all, Noah? Do you think Apex or Destiny should have been there?
I think Destiny 2 is a pretty good contender just because of what they've done with their like update pipeline and how fast updates come now. Also with how communicative they've been with the community, they've just been really on top
Wow.
of telling them exactly what to expect. And
If I don't see a tweet every week that says "Wear TWAB,"
oh yeah,
then they're doing something wrong.
yeah, yeah. It's an event for the Destiny community every time a Thursday comes around, and I'm one of those people checking Twitter every 5 minutes to see if DMG tweets F5 so I can refresh my page and read the twab.
Wear TWAB, wear TWAB, wear TWAB.
Yeah,
So for TWAB this week at Bungie, do they just do Destiny? Because I normally just read the patch notes that you put in our Discord.
yeah. I mean, they talk about Destiny and any like events surrounding it, like fundraising stuff or like just like random things that might be going on that month. Um, but it's usually just Destiny centric.
Gotcha. Well, congrats to Final Fantasy 14 Online with Square Enix. You should check out the game. If they have best community support, obviously they're doing something right, right?
Yeah, and the new Endwalker DLC comes out, or is already out. It's just that people are having some trouble getting in because of so many people wanting to play the game, which is only a good problem.
Yeah, that's with any game, especially with Apex Legends. Apex Legends is so frustrating on a new update.
That's true. It's been pretty good for the past 2 seasons, though.
Well, true. Destiny 2 is the opposite.
Yeah,
Anytime they launch something new, it's kind of a mess.
yeah,
Not to say that they have bad community support or terrible servers or anything. It's just there's so many players populating the servers. It's hard to get people in.
yeah.
I remember I think it was the launch for, was it Deepstone or was it the Splicer event? I
Uh,
remember I
yeah,
remember one, it was one of those where I was in like a 2 hour queue before I could get in.
yeah. Season of the Splicer was like that, and Beyond Light was like that also. Yeah. So moving on to best narrative, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy wins that. I think
um,
that was my choice.
that was your choice. I think It Takes Two still should have won it, but I think they won a few others, so I'm okay with it. I'll let them have it.
I watched a clip on Twitter that was like, if you haven't played Guardians of the Galaxy yet, watch this and you'll understand. And I watched it and I understood. It looks really good. It was like Gamora, light spoilers, talking about well, it's pretty heavy spoilers if I mention it, but it was Gamora talking about this traumatic event that happened in her past, and then like afterwards, Star Lord is like, "Did you hear that though?" And they're like, "What?" She's like, and he's like, "She said she loved us," and it's just like this perfect because like Gamora is really getting dramatic, and it's like really well played, and you feel what she's feeling, and then Star Lord sort of lightens the moment, but he's not like a complete asshole
Douche.
like he is like he is in the movies, like where it's just
Yeah.
like, oh man, I hate this guy, especially in or Infinity War. Um, it's a really good mix, and I think if that clip is indicative of the whole experience, then yeah, I'm Guardians of the Galaxy all the way, and I cannot wait to play that game because it looks beautiful from what I've seen.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they, based on what you said, deserve it then. I did see one clip though where they threw, light spoiler, they threw Rocket across like a bridge or something, and the whole time he was cursing at him, and then he just started shooting at them. That's pretty good writing there. That's pretty spot on for their character design. And then moving on, I guess we go to best game direction, and Deathloop won that, which honestly I don't know anything about Deathloop. I even said that last week. But made by Bethesda, so maybe they, if they don't have bugs, their games can win stuff.
Yeah, it's Arcane. Arcane's the developers on that one. I don't know though, because I'm pretty sure Psychonauts 2, or wait, no. This is game direction.
Yeah.
What were the nominees in that category?
It was Deathloop with Arcane Studios and Bethesda. It Takes Two with Hazelight and EA. Returnal with Housemarque. Psychonauts 2 with Double Fine and Xbox Game Studios, and then Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart with Insomniac Games.
Yeah, I think Psychonauts 2, like the way it incorporates. I haven't played the game still. Heard a lot of people talk about it, and I've seen some footage. And the way it incorporates like the whole metaphor of what the game is into the level design and the platforming sections is really cool. Basically, like what you do in Psychonauts is you go into people's minds and you, I don't know what you do. You solve their problems or you make them think a certain way or something like that. But you go into their minds and you basically
Sounds like
see,
Inception.
yeah, kind of. And you see like what they've experienced and how they've gotten to this point. So like there's one where you're going into like surgery, like this, it's like a doctor or something, and you're like jumping over like the X-ray stuff, and like you're doing all this stuff that's like very like you're getting the story told to you while you're experiencing exactly what happened in a fun way, and I think that's really cool from a game direction standpoint.
Do you know what Deathloop was about? I don't remember if we talked about it or not last week.
Yeah, it's like basically a time loop game, but you get to choose which, like it's not like you have a time crunch and you have to like do this in this amount of time and then restart. You just pick like what time you want to be inserted into, and then you do your stuff there, and then you come back out of that and you pick what time you want to go now, and then you do that stuff. And basically
Gotcha.
you're just trying to, it's like a big puzzle to kill every one of the like I forget what they're called.
It kind of sounds like Super Hot.
Uh it's not like, its gameplay is like more like Dishonored and Dishonored 2. Um
Okay. Dishonored, yeah, those were good games.
yeah, and
Do
it's,
they have the same kind of consequences?
yeah,
Like
pretty
if you,
much
okay,
it's the same developer, and this is their, well, they made Prey, but this is like their like next
fourth game?
evolution, yeah, of Dishonored, because you still have like the blink ability, which is weird because they literally just have it in here, and it doesn't really make
Yeah.
sense. But yeah, I really want to play that one, and I guess I get it, but still, like
Yeah.
Nuts 2 was robbed.
Okay. Well then maybe that one was just a bad pick on the studio's part. I don't know. I do want to say real quick, off topic. I've been drinking coffee this whole time. It's early for me, and I don't have a lot of sleep. And I just finished it, and when it was up to my face, and I pulled the mug back. You ever seen the TikTok of the dude who looks at trains?
No.
I saw my own face, and it reminds me of the dude who looks at trains with the camera all zoomed in on his face. It looks so funny. That guy's videos they're pretty good. You should take a look. I
I
don't have
should.
TikTok downloaded, but I do enjoy his videos. They're pretty good. Last category that we talked about was Game of the Year, and this one was spot on. I think It Takes Two for sure deserves it. I think that when it came to best narrative, they were a close contender with Marvel's Guardian of the Galaxy. They had great music, which they didn't win the music category either. I don't even know if they were a nominee for it. We didn't really talk about it, but they had great music, great narrative. The game direction was also good in terms of, going through the game, each level. And yeah, just overall, I think they definitely deserve it.
Yeah, I agree. I had a lot of fun with that game. Still haven't finished it, but
Again, we'll,
it.
we'll be planning a stream, so
I
stay
think
stay tuned.
it's the most video gamey game I've played this year, and I think that's all you need from a video game. And it's got some of the best mechanics, and like it introduces so many mechanics, but they're all so polished, and they all feel so good. And there are so many games that introduce like a few mechanics or have a few mechanics, and they just don't get it right. But It Takes Two gets the shooter genre down. It gets the ship driving or the ship sailing mechanic down. It gets
When you're on the plane and I had to fly
yeah
and like move stuff and
yeah
okay, so just real quick because the game has been out for a while. One of the funniest things during that whole time we were playing, other than some of the mechanics of like being big and small and goofing around with buttons and stuff, we had to escape a tree that was run by squirrels,
yeah
like combative squirrels. I had to fly a plane and avoid other planes as well as acorns and stuff falling from the tree while he was on top fighting a squirrel in like a Mortal Kombat slash like Street Fighter esque
yeah.
game. Like it was
It's so
crazy.
good. And I love how it makes I forget what her name is, but the mom, like she's always like the badass one doing like crazy stuff. I feel like, and
Yeah.
it's just so funny, just so good.
And
Uh,
the dad was very reserved and like let's just not do that.
yeah,
Not a good idea. Let's not do that.
and I'm pretty sure the plane was like his boxers stretched on like
Yes, it was made out of his boxers and like a clothes hanger
yeah,
and some other stuff because the squirrels kept taking all their stuff from the house. Yeah.
yeah.
So it was pretty good. So yeah, definitely game of the year. They deserve that for sure. Going forward, I think that pretty much just wraps up all the categories we talked about. Most of them well deserved. A couple we're a little salty about, but I think we should talk about some of their first looks, their
Oh yeah,
world premieres.
it's the
Uh,
world premiere awards at this point. There's
yeah,
so many world premieres back to back to back.
yeah, there
Um,
was like three in a row at one point, I think.
yeah,
What were
I
some of the ones you're really looking forward to?
so Hellblade 2, I never played Hellblade 1, but Hellblade 2 looks really good, and I can't wait to play that day one on Xbox Game Pass. Uh,
Not sponsored, but hey,
it's the best deal in
maybe.
gaming.
Yeah.
And then also Alan Wake Part 2. Alan Wake 1 is so good, and it just got remastered. I haven't played that one, but the first one still holds up so well. And even
Yeah.
for all its Energizer product placement, where you literally yeah, you have the whole like conceit of the game is you have to hold back the darkness, and so you have a flashlight, and
Gotcha.
there are literally Energizer batteries everywhere, and you get those so you can have your flashlight. Um, and basically, Alan Wake 1, since you haven't played it, I'll tell you a little bit. You have your flashlight, you point at enemies, and they're all like darkness, and that protects them. So you point at enemies until their darkness is gone, then you can shoot them. And I'm pretty sure in Alan Wake, like your reticle is also your flashlight beam. So if it's on their head, like you can shoot them right there, and then they're gone. But it's such a good game, and it has like a dodge button in Alan Wake 1, where if they're like right about to hit you, you can perfect dodge, and that feels so satisfying. Um, and it's like a very trippy, weird, almost like Stephen King type story, and it's really, really good.
I was gonna
Um,
say, from what I remember, wasn't it a story about like fighting back, like it was either fighting back like depression or like schizophrenia or something like that?
uh, I played it when I was like probably too young to understand anything, but yeah, I think so. It's like it's some really trippy stuff. You go to this like town, like this sleepy, quaint town, and then stuff starts
Silent
going
Hill,
down.
Silent Hill, Silent Hill.
And it's like the manuscript that he's writing. Like he's like a writer. So like you realize that you're falling into his story that he wrote, but it's real and it's weird and it's really good. So part two cannot come soon enough. And Remedy said that this is their first survival horror game. So
Ooh,
even more than Alan Wake 1 and like that kind of stuff, it's going to be straight horror. And they had a lot of scary stuff, even in Control, which is weird because that was a pretty mainstream game and it was a very like scary game, like even in the first few hours at least.
was that the
Um,
one that RJ played?
he might have.
I think
I think he
because
did.
it's they, if I remember correctly, like their imagery, their background for the actual cover is like red, like a bunch of red
Yes, yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff breaking apart. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
That's it. Uh,
gotcha.
yeah, and that has like some tie-ins with Alan Wake too. Like their whole world is like very interconnected. I think even with Quantum Break, and Remedy's a really great game dev. Another one just to go through mine real quick. Monolith Soft is working on a new Wonder Woman game. They're the ones that made Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. And Shadow of Mordor is an amazing game, and they're bringing in the Nemesis system from those games into Wonder Woman, and I cannot wait to see what that looks like in a Wonder Woman like setting. They like they get combat right so well. They know
Can you
how to.
can you explain what the Nemesis system is for those who don't know?
Yeah, so the Nemesis system is basically it remembers how you killed an enemy. It remembers what happened during that fight with the enemy, and it will use those traits, or it'll use those like memories as a basis for what traits it gives those enemies, and those enemies will remember you. So they'll have like unique voice lines for you specifically that your friends who are playing the game won't get, and they'll have like unique like weaknesses or power ups that your friends won't get also. So like if I'm playing and I'm like killing a random orc, and that's the thing in Shadow of Mordor, you can kill like a random orc at all. Like it doesn't matter if it's a named person or not. They will become a named person if the Nemesis system decides to bring them back, and that's like so unique and cool. So you can just make like the most badass enemies out of grunts, basically, that can rise up their ranks because they either kill you or they don't, and they use that as motivation to keep going. And it makes it to where you can tell these like stories without really having to write out narratives for them, and that's really awesome. So like one example is I like executed an orc by like well, first I might have like shot open a cage with a weird animal, and that animal went and attacked him, and then I like burned him with a fire arrow, and then I went down and I chopped his arm off, and that was how I killed him. So then maybe next time he comes back, he doesn't have his arm, but he has like an immunity to fire damage, and he's afraid of animals. So you can use those things against him, and it's like such a cool system because it just makes it to where you want to approach every fight differently, knowing what you know about them.
Do you
And
remember when I played that popped up a few times, or instead of being like scared of an animal, he'd be scared of the flame itself,
yeah,
and he like conquered his fear of animals, so he'd be like a pack master or something.
yeah,
So that was kind of cool. And I remember, if I remember correctly, if you fight an enemy so many times, especially in that game, you can either kill them again, or you can like use your power to basically try to take control of their mind. If you do it so many times, eventually you'll just take away their intelligence altogether, and they are just sort of this drooling, mumbling enemy that's every now and then will say, "Just kill me."
yeah, yeah.
Kind of messed up, honestly.
Yeah, it's a crazy system, and I bet now that you're saying that, like I forgot about the whole mind control part, but now that you're saying that, I bet you can use the lasso of truth and like
Oh,
wrap it
that'd be
around them, and
dope.
that's kind of how you bend them to your will. That'd be awesome. Um, I cannot wait for this. We only got like a cinematic trailer for it, but I think that Wonder Woman is in good hands with Monolith Soft, and I'm tired of the real time strategy superhero games that I don't want to play, and I want to play as the superhero and do badass stuff. So that's cool.
Yeah. Were those the only two that like
Oh,
really piqued your interest?
lastly, The Matrix Awakens. It's like a tech demo for Unreal Engine 5, and from what I see, it looks beautiful. And I can't play it though because I don't have an Xbox or a PS5. I only have my PC, and I don't know why it's not playable on there, and it should be. That's
True.
all I got to say. So, what about you, Lane?
Well, there were three that I'm really looking forward to. Elden Ring was one of them, but I'm not really going to talk about that one too much since we talked about it a lot last week and when we were going over the actual winners for Game Awards. So I'm going to replace it with one. The three that I was really looking forward to that caught my interest were Star Wars Eclipse. They had a 2-minute cinematic trailer reveal, so no gameplay, nothing like that. There's not even really a story that we know yet. based on the trailer from what I watched, I'm thinking it's gonna be it is set during the High Republic. We know that, so that's 200 years before the Skywalker saga. What I'm thinking is based on I think they were called the Gun. No, not the Gundans. Were they the Gundans?
I think
Or is that Jar Jar Binks'
that's Jar Jar
species?
Binks. I know what you're talking about though. You're talking about like the blue what's his name?
No, 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 not the blue guy. Newt Gunray.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, oh, okay, so maybe we were thinking of the same thing. Anyway, I think it's going to be based on them fighting another civilization, and I actually think it's going to be the rise of Darth Plagueis,
Oh,
because
that would be
Darth
dope.
Plagueis was the master for not Darth Vader, the Emperor
Palpatine,
Palpatine.
yeah.
Yeah, Palpatine. So I think that's what it's going to be about. So I'm really looking forward to that. If you haven't checked out the trailer, you can find it on YouTube. Just type in Star Wars Eclipse trailer. Trust me, it's 2 minutes of your time. It's beautiful. The music is already awesome. So I think that's going to be my number one out of the three. Elden Ring, we know a lot more about that, so obviously that's going to be my top contender. The other one that I was really excited for was GTFO. They've been in a beta slash alpha phase for a long time now, and during the Game Awards this past Thursday, they actually released their GTFO version 1, so it's considered a complete game now. And I played when they were first a beta, and I still have access to the game, so I want to check it out again soon with some buddies. But when I played the beta, it was still very buggy. The maps were still in the works, but based on the trailer that they showed, it looks like it's definitely in a better place as far as progression goes. The leveling, the new enemies, some of the enemies I saw in the trailer they didn't have during the beta, so that I'm really looking forward to. And I can't believe I'm going to say this. I swore I would never play it again 2 years ago at the beginning of Chapter 2, but Fortnite. Fortnite, the Chapter 3, especially with Dwayne The Rock Johnson coming in and, you know, just being a general badass. Maybe he'll be in Fast and Furious in the game if they haven't already put that in Fortnite. They'll send a banana in a car to space or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But they are bringing a lot to Fortnite, it looks like. As far as movement goes, I saw some things where you could swing around as Spider-Man. They're adding a new sliding system, which is amazing because I love that in Apex. So I think those are my three that look really awesome. A lot of other ones that are story driven that I feel I'm going to be excited for, but those were the three that I'm most looking forward to, probably.
I'll play Fortnite when they add tap strafing as a mechanic.
So does that mean you're going to stop playing Apex when they take it away?
Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Uh, um, but about the Star Wars Eclipse, it's made by developer Quantic Dream, and they also have a little bit of a controversy, a little bit of, a bad workplace environment. I think it's, I don't really know. I don't want to speak to it because I don't know exactly what's going on there. But I will speak about their games, which I'm not a huge fan of. Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and Detroit Become Human are some of their stuff, and
I heard Detroit was good.
I hear they're
Become
good.
Human?
I mean, okay, Heavy Rain is all right. It's not great, but Detroit Become Human, I hear good things about, and I just don't like the way their games play, which is that they don't really play. They're all quick time events. Um, and I hope that Star Wars Eclipse is a bit of an evolution for them as a game studio. And also, this what I said about what I said about superhero games. I want to play as characters in those worlds and like have full control and be a badass or be whatever I am instead of having
You
like
don't
this
want it to be like a
abstraction.
choice based
I mean, no,
choice.
I like the choices in those games. I just I want to do things as a Star Wars character instead of
True.
um sort of move my right stick in a certain way or whatever,
So
Um
you want their game to be kind of like what was it called? Was it Jedi Fallen Order that they came out with recently?
yeah, kind of
Not
like
not
that.
not the studio, but the most recent Star Wars game, I think,
Yeah, yeah,
which was again a great game if you haven't played it.
yeah.
All right, yeah. So I think that pretty much wraps up Game Awards. We did everything else. Let's talk about what got us started in gaming. So what got you started in gaming, Noah?
So I was a youngin. I was like about 3 years old, and like I don't know why, but my uncle was like dead set on making me like a student already at 3 years old, and he's like, if you want to play on my Xbox, you have to like write out numbers 1 to 100 or do some simple math problems or like put out your ABCs or like write different words that I tell you or whatever. And I was like, yeah, sure, I want to play Xbox. So I did those things, and then I got to play Halo, Splinter Cell, like 1 and 2, and Chaos Theory. Um, some of the best games ever made. Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, and that really just shot me off on my trajectory to be a little game nerd. And uh, then I'm pretty sure for one of my birthdays, it was like maybe 6 or 7, my mom got me a PS2, and I was ecstatic. Like I was, oh my god, this is crazy. I still have my PS2. It's in the other room, and I played the hell out of some Dragon Ball Z Budokai 1, 2, and 3. Those games are amazing still. They're probably not that great if I went back to them, but they're really fun. And then uh, for Christmas, my mom got me the Xbox 360 arcade like console, and it came with like Sega Superstars Tennis and like an arcade collection. And also she got me Guitar Hero 3 that day, and I that was amazing. Loved that, and that was pretty much all I needed. So what about you?
Nice. For me, probably my dad was what really got me into it. He had a Sega, so before even the PlayStation, and I remember watching him play Army Guys on it. There was literally a game about Army Guys fighting, and I played it too. He would let me play with him. So I played that a lot, and I was a big Nintendo gamer when I was little. The Nintendo 64 is GameCube technically Nintendo, or is that different? Is that
Yeah,
like a separate? I feel like it was Nintendo, right?
yeah, it's Nintendo GameCube.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I had the Nintendo 64 and the GameCube, and for me, I played Spyro on the GameCube a lot, and for the Nintendo 64, I played Mario 64 and Mario Kart. So that was kind of like my kickoff. And going forward, as far as gaming goes, I remember the Xbox for sure and playing Battlefront and Battlefront 2 with my dad a lot, and Halo 2. I actually played Halo 2 before I played Halo Combat Evolved. And I remember shortly after getting actually like into gaming, like on the Xbox, we had a spider in our house, and when I was little, I had arachnophobia. Like I was terrified of spiders. And my dad said, "Look, if you kill this spider for me, if you like kill it however you want, I'll buy you an Xbox 360 for Christmas." And I was like, "You swear?" He was like, "I promise." I was like, "Okay, you better keep your promise." And I didn't even like grab like a fly swatter or anything. I straight up just punched it bare knuckles. I punched the wall to kill the spider.
Oh my god.
And I got an Xbox 360 that Christmas with Halo 3. So my dad's a man of his word. But that was kind of my memory of it. And that's kind of how I grew up playing games. I played a lot of, I should not have been playing this because I was definitely like 5 years old, but I was playing a lot of Grand Theft Auto.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of probably steered me on my path of gaming of what I like to do as far as gaming goes. Alrighty, guys, that's all we've got for you today. Tell us what you've been playing in the comments below if you're viewing this through YouTube, and if not, tweet us at using the hashtag supercharged and at vuvuzela21 or at tarnation_gaming. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next Sunday on the Supercharged podcast. Take care.